Stay here, Paul. Where is Toxie and the beautiful Hyperthermia? Come down and be part of the Q&A. Hyperthermia, look how beautiful and glamorous she is, everyone. Now, before we start the Q&A, some of you asked. This is not made for short people who look like Mel Brooks. Didn't expect that. Paul asked me if Troma has been nominated for an Academy Award or a Golden Globe, and I've got 2 very small Golden Globes, but not used very often. Troma's job is not to receive awards. Troma's job is to... why do you stand behind me? You're so... stand there so you're seen. Beautiful, beautiful Tromette. Troma's job is to give awards, and tonight we're going to be giving out 2 of the very prestigious Troma diplomas to people who have helped independent cinema. And this is the second most important award that Troma gives out, the first being the Toxie, which goes to people who give us money. Of course, you are all free to video any portion of any of the Troma movies. We believe in file sharing and sharing art. So I'm going to ask the very winners of the Troma diploma here in Schenectady.
Great. And our winner is?
Maybe.
Paul Casey? Winner is Joe Piero.
This is actually, I'm really honored. This is the best thing ever. I don't know what to say except thank you. I want to thank Emily Petriquin. Who without her, I couldn't have done any of this. Emily, come up here. Emily's my partner and my girlfriend, most wonderful person in the world, and I couldn't have done this without her. She introduced me to Paul and Peter and everyone, so none of this would be here without her, so thank you, Emily. Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, you can go. Emily will be a Tromette in training, TIT. Anyway, Joe, pastime video, pastime legend video. No, pastime legends, of course. Pastime video games, the best apparel store I've ever been to. How do you do it? How do you make it so fresh and alive? By not having any Troma movies there, I hope. At any rate, thank you very much to Pastime Legends store, and I hope you'll all support the company that supports independent arts. And Emily, thank you, Emily. Anyway, Q&A. I don't know what that stands for, Paul, but let's do it.
Well, I got a question for you right
Well,
off the
here,
bat. You mentioned that you're all for file sharing and everything. I noticed there's a SOPA thing going on. People know about SOPA! Yeah. But you actually signed a petition to criticize the SOPA ruling, right?
To stop it.
To stop it.
I'm probably the only student. That's a very interesting question, and I'm happy you raised it. I'm probably the only head of a studio, if you consider Troma that, to be against SOPA, which is the Stop Online Piracy Act that Congress has tried, that the giant mega conglomerates and Congress have tried to put past the public and pass, and which this so-called Stop Online Piracy Act has nothing to do with stopping piracy. It has to do with stopping competition, because the internet is the last democratic medium. And those guys, thank you. Those guys do not want, they don't want us to get news that might be slightly true, or do they want us to get independent art? They don't want to compete, and the internet is a great threat to a entertainment and news and art cartel, which is shoving a lot of kind of baby food stuff down our throats. The point about SOPA is that I think that the fact that it was stymied, it was the congressmen and the Senate both got the message from grassroots and from the tech world. It's the first time in history that the powerful elite of the international media conglomerates, the so-called Hollywood gang, it's the first time that they've been defeated. They spend $100 million a year in Washington taking senators and congresspeople out to dinner, and they have plush screenings in there. They have a very fancy theater in Washington, and they'll bring down some movie star, and the senators and the congressmen will get to rub shoulders with them, and then they'll stop various forms of competition. And they've been able to do that by raising the specter of piracy and porno. They did it with video cassettes. They did it, they've been doing it almost from the beginning of our industry. And they always use that as a stalking horse to prevent competition. Whenever there's a new technology, they try to throw, the elite try to throw and by then I mean Time Warner, Sony, Paramount, Viacom, whatever, Comcast now, Comcast, NBC, Universal. They try to throw a monkey wrench into the new technology until they can take it over. And for the first time in history, the tech world and the grassroots of the internet have stopped them from their elitist evil. So very cool. It's a very important event of last week when SOPA, when all these chicken shit Congress people suddenly heard you. Oh, their phones were full, their email boxes were full, and they heard us saying, "Hey, you better think this thing through." You know, a lot of these people, a lot of them down in Washington, they actually are proud of being ignorant. They're like the Texas guy who, you know, they're proud of being ignorant of technical. They brag about not even having email. They don't even know how to attach an email. So it's very important to stay on this and don't let them pass again, because the internet is, again, the last way we can all communicate probably, and it has nothing to do with porno or with piracy.
One other question I've got for you. Toxie was brought to, was it Broadway, off-Broadway? Actually, our friend here, Peter, actually went down and saw it. What was your involvement in that? What can you tell us about the Broadway show?
Well, Toxie was made into, and actually it's a very good, I wrote a book called Sell Your Own Damn Movie, in which I spent a lot of time, thank you, I think it's the most interesting one of the books. And a lot of pages are devoted to sharing art as a way where one can make money. If one is an independent artist, one can actually get revenue from sharing your art by not grinding every cent from people and trying to squeeze people with licensing. There were fans who wanted to put on the Toxic Avenger musical in Portland, Oregon, and I probably could have squeezed them for a few bucks, but I didn't. I let them do it because I figured, what the tox? It's it'll be good publicity. And indeed they did. And indeed they did it. And I actually went there and got a lot of fun. I mean, I went there and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very, very much. And then another group, a slightly better finance group, went out of Omaha, did a Toxic Avenger musical, a different one in Omaha, and again I let them do it for nothing. You know, didn't charge them for the rights. They kept all whatever tickets they sold, and apparently they were okay, and they got some good reviews. That is what attracted the Broadway guys, who were real producers, and they actually paid us some money. So it was kind of, and I think that's a good example of how if you perhaps if you give away your art, that may be a way to get around the fact that our industry is so controlled by a small number of these big conglomerates. Toxic Avenger was made into an off-Broadway show. It won Best Off-Broadway Musical. It was, by the way, William Faulkner is coming down the aisle here. He's a famous TV celebrity. Say hello to the audience. Come on, say hello. Yeah. See, lots of glamour here in this Schenectady. What is Schenectady at Dawn? What's it called? The movie? Harry Potter! What? Well, open stage media, but what's the thing called? No, come on. What's the Schenectady something? It's got the word Schenectady in it. Huh? It came from Schenectady. There you go. I don't know, but anyway, thank you to all these names. Sorry. Anyway, I can't remember what I was talking about, but the Toxic Avenger musical was written by Joe DiPietro and David Bryan. David is the keyboard guy and one of the original Bon Jovi guys. And if you've been to the airport, I know you've probably had Cinnabon Jovis. And thank you, Paul. And anyway, they also won Best Off-Broadway Show with the Toxic Avenger musical. Now apparently coming to Broadway. And although I don't know, I'm not that involved in it. But also they wrote Memphis, the best, which won Best Tony for a musical or whatever.
Coming to Proctor's.
Yeah, it's coming to Proctor's. So Memphis and the Toxie, and I noticed Elmo and Toxie are on the marquee outside. And